A very warm welcome to everyone. My name is Erik Dam, co-founder and CEO of Nutrileads. I'm very delighted to talk to you about BeniCaros, our unique and proprietary immune health ingredient that will be available for the US market in the second half of 2021. And I'll present this together with Ruud Albers, co-founder and CSO of Nutrileads.
Hello.
So we have two topics today. BeniCaros, as I said. What is it? What are the unique selling points? But also the development journey of BeniCaros that started in 2012 and even a little bit before that. And then I'll talk about Nutrileads, our company, what we stand for, and about the RG1 platform that we have that we use for developing our health ingredients. Now first, a lot has happened over the last year, and BeniCaros is addressing the number one unmet need in health ingredients, being to support immune function. And supporting immune function has always been a top priority for consumers when they were looking at food or supplements to strengthen their health and specifically to strengthen their immune system. And these numbers are now staggering, as you can see from this survey, all over the world, ranging from 74% in Germany to 85% in the US of people who are interested in food or supplements that support their immune health. And then if you look at the active people that are actually seeking for food that is supporting their health, the numbers range from like 25% in Europe to 60% in Latin America. And furthermore, the notice of consumers of the importance of preventative health as well as a strong immune system has been further highlighted by the COVID-19 pandemic. And consumers are looking more and more for these food products and supplements to strengthen their health. And that's where functional ingredients like BeniCaros can really play a key role for these consumers and for the companies to actually make products that support immune health. So that's also what we see from the food producers. They realize that this is a large market, that this is a growing market, and they're looking for health ingredients, preferably with a differentiating immune claim. And there are not that many products out there. When you see consumer products with an immune claim, they're basically based on certain vitamins, vitamin B, C, or D, or zinc. And they can use a generic claim, something like to support the normal function of. But the food producers are looking for products with more differentiating claims, and ideally that are proprietary. And that is basically what BeniCaros has to offer. It's a proprietary ingredient derived from carrots and enriched from RG1. And Ruud will talk later about RG1, what it is, and how it interacts with the human body. Now, BeniCaros ticks a lot of the boxes. First, there is a strong body of evidence for differentiating immune claims. And again, Ruud will talk about the preclinical and the clinical evidence that we have to support these differentiating immune claims. BeniCaros is produced from carrots in a 100% natural way. Even better, BeniCaros is produced from carrot pomace, which is a side stream of carrot juice production, which makes it very sustainable. And basically, we're upcycling the side stream of carrot juice production. On top of that, it's very label friendly. If you look at the nutrition label, you can add it to the fiber content, and it's very easily applicable in many types of food matrices, be it functional foods, be it functional beverages, or food supplements. BeniCaros has market access in the US, and it's taken into account that this cannot have the price of pharma products. It has to be included in food and supplement products. And with this novel ingredient, we have unique opportunities based on the clinical evidence to come up with differentiating claims and differentiating communication. As the Nutrileads team has a long history in food, we realized that safety and applicability are key for an ingredient to be a success. So we have done all the safety work. I mean, more than 800 subjects have been participating in studies. We have done the tox studies. We have published the safety assessment, including the results of the tox studies. We have graphs confirmed by independent experts, and the dossier for novel foods in Europe has been submitted and the process is ongoing. And then if you look at the applicability and the different boxes, you can see that it's very easy applicable, but also showing very interesting elements that are looked after for the consumers. 100% natural, plant-based, gluten-free. From a manufacturer point of view, it's only 0.3 gram, the effective gram. Basically no odor, basically no taste. And the color, I would say, is a light orange, off-white color, reflecting the carrots and reflecting the Dutch origin. I think with this, I'd like to hand over to Ruud, who will take us through the development journey of BeniCaros. Ruud.
Yeah, thank you, Erik. It's my pleasure to talk about the exciting history of the science behind BeniCaros. And actually, the active compound in BeniCaros is called rhamnogalactoronnan 1, which took me quite some time to get the pronunciation right, so I will abbreviate it as RG1. And this whole story started when I was leading a research and development team at Unilever, where we were looking at new ingredients that could support immune function and increase resistance to respiratory tract infections. And this was already back in 2006. And what we did at the time is we looked at a lot of potential ingredients that had one way or another been associated with beneficial effects on the immune system. And we came up with a list of over 470 candidate ingredients. And then we started to evaluate the evidence that they actually have a beneficial effect in humans. That helped to reduce the long list very quickly. So then we ended up with a short list of about 10 to 15 ingredients that we evaluated in much more depth, zooming in on the evidence from clinical trials, but also doing a range of in vitro assays to compare their efficacy side by side. At the end of this whole exercise, we came up with an extract that we found very interesting, which was a traditional Chinese medicinal extract from ginseng, which has been used for centuries for various purposes, but also to support immune function. But the main reason that we were interested in this extract was that there was a number of clinical trials that had been performed and published showing effects of this extract on immune function and also beneficial protective effects against respiratory tract infections. Unfortunately, however, that extract could not be applied in food products due to a number of reasons, of which cost was the main one, because it takes 5 to 6 years to grow these ginseng roots, and that's just not economically feasible in a food and beverage context. That's when we started to look for the active compound or compounds in this extract. And after a lot of hard work, we identified the active compound in this extract, which turned out to be RG1. And then we realized that RG1 is actually not unique to ginseng, but that it can also be sourced from certain food crops. So that was the basis of this discovery was the basis of the development of BeniCaros. Then in 2012, we had the opportunity to acquire all the know-how and also the patents on RG1. And from there on, we have been developing RG1 into where we are today, which is just before the launch of BeniCaros to the US market. And I will take you through a number of key steps that we have taken during the development of BeniCaros. First, what is RG1? RG1 is a natural plant fiber. It's a constituent of the plant cell wall. It varies between crops, and the trick is in extracting it from the cell wall. It's a very complex fiber, as you can see on the cartoon shown here. It's not digested by the human digestive enzymes. It ends up being fermented by the microbiota. And for the microbiota, it's also quite a challenge because of its complexity. So you need a combination of multiple microorganisms to actually ferment this fiber. And in that sense, RG1 is quite different from your typical prebiotic fibers, which are chemically quite simple, 1 or 2 monosaccharide units with only a limited number of chemical bonds between them, which we sometimes refer to as fast food for some microbes. Now, RG1 has a dual mode of action. When we eat RG1, it ends up in our intestinal tract, and there it is recognized by the innate immune system. And this recognition leads to training of the innate immune system, which then leads to a more responsive immune system. And the other element, or the other mode of action through which RG1 operates is that it is fermented by beneficial microorganisms in our intestinal tract, and that leads to the production of active metabolites, which also stimulate immune function. These two modes of actions of RG1 are not only postulated, they're actually demonstrated by a series of experiments, both in vitro experiments as well as preclinical studies in animal models. And what we know is that RG1 leads to training of innate immune system because specialized cells of the immune system sense what is present in the intestinal tract. That leads recognition of RG1 then leads to signaling via specific pattern recognition receptors. This leads to training of these cells, and these cells then travel through the body, amongst others to the lungs, and this leads to increased responsiveness to respiratory tract infections. And as I mentioned before, RG1 is also fermented by the microbiota that leads to stimulation of beneficial microorganisms and production of healthy metabolites such as short-chain fatty acids. The other thing that we have done with RG1 is we did 2 clinical trials in which we tested the effect of RG1 on the immune system in healthy volunteers. And in this first trial, we had 60 healthy volunteers that were divided over 3 groups, where one group got a placebo product, which was a instant cappuccino powder, and the 2 other groups got the same cappuccino powder, but then with either 0.3 gram per day of RG1 or 1.5 gram per day. And then we looked at markers of innate immune function before the start of the study and after 4 weeks. And what you see in the bottom left panel on this slide is that we did see a dose-dependent enhancement of innate immune function. Now, this is one of the markers that was also included in the original studies with ginseng, in which people also showed beneficial effects against respiratory tract infections. So this observation closed the loop to those original studies. And the other thing that we observed in this study that is indicated in the bottom right panel is that we did see an increase of beneficial microbes. And in this study, it was mainly focused at bifidobacteria. So evidence for the dual mode of action of RG1 in healthy volunteers. And this allowed us to then embark on our pivotal trial, which is again a trial in healthy volunteers. But in this case, RG1 was given as a dietary supplement, as a powder to be mixed with breakfast items. And we measured a series of markers of immune function, again at baseline and after 8 weeks in this case. But the most important thing that we did in this trial is we did experimentally expose these volunteers to a common cold virus. So in their nasal cavity, they were exposed to a virus, and then we looked at the response to that virus. And what we did see was that the virus did induce symptoms of the common cold, which is shown on the bottom left here, where the symptoms actually peak on day 4 in the red curve and then gradually decline. That is in the placebo group. And you see that in people that received 0.3 grams per day of BeniCaros, they perceive less severe symptoms of the cold. It's a 20% reduction, and the symptoms are gone faster. So there's a reduction of 25% in duration of symptoms, which is both highly significant. Now, in the same study, and that is the power of this study, that we could do that in the same study, we looked at the underlying response of the immune system to this infection. We sampled from the nasal cavity, we washed their nasal cavity, and we took also some samples from the epithelial cells that were infected. And what we could see essentially indicates that the immune response to this viral infection was enhanced. It was faster, it was stronger, and that actually led then to a more efficient clearance of the virus and therefore less severe symptoms and a shorter duration of the symptoms. This is a unique study, not often done with food ingredients, and it shows very coherently that RG1 does support immune function, that this leads to a more effective response to a viral infection, and that thereby the infection has less impact on the quality of life of these subjects. Then lastly, a little bit on the production of RG1. As Erik mentioned already, RG1 is produced from carrots, so originally discovered from ginseng. We now produce it from carrots. These carrots are grown by trusted farmers. The supply chain is entirely traceable. The carrots are washed and steamed to peel them, and then they are pressed to produce juice. And during that pressing, there is a side stream, which is the carrot pomace, which is normally disposed of. But for us, this is the starting material of the production of RG1. We extract RG1 from this pomace using a natural production process. The RG1 is then dried. We make sure that the composition of RG1 is correct and that the activity is correct, and that then results in BeniCaros, which is a natural product produced by upcycling the carrot pomace from a completely traceable supply chain. So that's a little bit about the background of BeniCaros. Erik, can you pick it up from here?
Yeah, thank you, Ruud. Then, of course, the question is, when is BeniCaros available? Now, the good news is, although we started in 2012, and at that time it was a long time before we could actually offer it to consumers through our business partners, BeniCaros will now be available in the US during the second half of this year, of 2021. And we start with the body of evidence that Ruud just explained. And what we will do is to continue to generate more evidence, to also, as a dot on the horizon, have approved health claims in Europe or qualified health claims in the US. And we will continue to build that evidence and to basically then relaunch the product with an even stronger claim. But already the responses we get from the market with the evidence that you have seen, we can come out with a very differentiating and exciting claim in communication. So maybe a little bit about Nutrileads, the company that developed the BeniCaros. I hope it will not be a surprise for you that our mission is to help people strengthen their health and with nutrition. And the way we do that is by developing health ingredients, 100% plant-based health ingredients with clinically proven health benefits. And that's really, I think, also where we differentiate ourselves from other companies working in this area. Because as Ruud explained, the preclinical and the clinical work we do to support our health benefits, that's really the way we want to work. We are a B2B company, so we're working with and we're looking for food and beverage companies, for food supplement, dietary supplement companies to apply our ingredient BeniCaros into their consumer products. A little bit about the history, and Ruud already alluded to that, the time at Unilever when the RG1 compound was discovered, and then the start of Nutrileads in 2012, where we were able to acquire the IP and know-how and prepare the company for funding, which happened in 2015. That was the time we did the proof of concept trial and started to work also on the safety of BeniCaros. And based on the positive results for the proof of concept trial, we moved to the Series A round financing. We really started to work on upscaling manufacturing from lab scale, sort of the pre-pilot scale of the product that we used for our trials, to pre-commercial scale, and basically starting 2 more clinical trials on BeniCaros, as well as starting to work on the RG1 platform to also develop ingredients with other health benefits than immune, i.e. gut health and metabolic health. And in July of last year, 2020, we closed our Series B funding round. We have in the meantime secured market access in the US. And as we said, in Europe, it's ongoing. We have the communication, production partners in place and have commercial production now. And we're now about to launch BeniCaros in the US. As I said, we're working on a more approved health claim, i.e. building more clinical evidence to further support BeniCaros. And we will be working as a company on what we call our project names NL02, NL03, but based on the same RG1 platform. Now, the beauty of the RG1, and Ruud already alluded to it as well, there's a strong interaction with the gut ecosystem. And the gut ecosystem we know has an important effect on health, on at least several health aspects. So there's a clear indication that the RG1 interacts with the microbiota, the innate immune system, as well as an effect on the intestinal barrier. And through that, with variations of RG1, we are working on NL02 to support gut health, and NL03 really to support metabolic health and work on inflammation control. So they all, basically those concepts increase the resilience of the gut ecosystem, and through that the health status of the people using these products. Our leadership team, quite diverse, but what we have really in common is a long history and experience in large food companies. You see Danone, Unilever, Nestle, Friesland Campina, and we really are well positioned to develop health ingredients and to commercialize them and bring them to the market. If you look at our team, and this is the way we operate these days, again, very diverse, very different nationalities, and collectively we know all the steps, as I say, what it takes from identifying, developing, making sure we get market access, making sure we got the production right, and making sure we got the communication and commercialization right to bring our ingredients to the market. And what we are looking for now is more companies that want to apply BeniCaros in their food and beverage products, in their food supplement products, and that share with us the urgency to basically meet the unmet need of the consumers who are looking for food products and supplement products that helps them to strengthen their immune system. So if you're interested, you can maybe book a slot using the event schedule, or you can reach me, Erik Dam, directly at the below email address. So I'd really like to thank you for your attention. What you see on this slide, and we are based in Wageningen, which is known as Food Valley. You see our investors and also the grants that we have received both at the national and a European level. So again, thank you, and I wish you a very good continuation of this event. Thank you very much.